is working. I just want to say thank you all for coming out. We're hosting a panel about cosplaying and living with health conditions. My name is Erica, or I'm better known as Ari or Jessica Cosplay.
Hi, my name is Eileen, and I'm known as Mom the Cosplayer.
Hi, I'm Lex. Poster Child 323 on Instagram.
Hi, I'm Rebecca, also Regzilla Disco on Instagram. Thanks everybody for being here. We're so excited to talk to you. So before we start talking about our own personal conditions and kind of like how we deal with them within the scope of cosplay, I just want to give you guys a quick disclaimer. So the four of us only represent a small population of people with conditions. You know, there are so many of us with many different conditions that make up our experiences in life, and we want to shed light on how we accommodate our conditions. Please know that this is merely advice from our own experiences. It is not medical advice, you know, or advice from medical people. We are not medical personnel at all. We are just cosplayers who like to do a lot of the stuff that you guys do. So, as with any of this stuff, please be within your reason and consult with your doctor or a medical professional about anything you may talk about. Additionally, our conditions may not be the most conducive to you and your situations, right? You know, feel free to talk to us. We're going to have a Q&A section at the end of our panel. That way, you can hear your stories, how you deal with your conditions within cosplay. You know, talk to us, shed some light on it. If you want to come up to us after and speak to us personally, that's forum space, that's fine. We just kind of hope to be able to shed light on the bigger picture and have this panel start. So I will, should I start? Yeah. Okay. So I have two conditions that I'm going to talk about. I have Raynaud's syndrome and I have IBS. But first I'm going to start with the Raynaud's syndrome. So Raynaud's syndrome is also known as Raynaud's phenomenon. It is a medical condition in which the spasm of small arteries causes to produce blood flow to end arterioles. Typically it's like your fingers, your toes are affected by this, your nose, ears, or lips can also be affected. Usually they turn partially white or can turn blue, with like numbness or pain kind of, you know, accompanying that. And then as the blood flow returns, your hands or toe, wherever, you know, is being affected by this, like turns red and starts to almost burn. So like the episodes could be minutes long, it could be hours. It's usually just brought on like by the cold or by some sort of stress trigger. So like for so many people, you know, sometimes we have to wait outside in line at cons, right? Or like today, it's a pretty cold day outside. You know, I would say it's February in DC, right? It's like, or near DC, it's pretty cold. So, you know, for me, like I can't be outside for a long period of time in this kind of weather. It's like just not cool. Even I was downstairs near the doors before, and I was freezing with the wind coming in and everything. And I was like, you know what? Let me not be here. So, you know, it really would have been like a painful experience for me. And then people are like, oh, it's just cold, it's not a big deal. I'm like, well, you know, kind of is, right? So my tips for cosplaying, if you have Raynaud's, right? First tip is to plan ahead. You know, take extra clothes, an extra jacket, extra everything. I always have like a jacket and gloves in my car, but because we're at a hotel, luckily, like most people, if you're not staying here, you're staying local, so you have stuff that you can kind of keep, you know, within a reasonable distance to you, I would say. And have like a home base where you have that stuff, right? My second tip is proper shoes and socks. I recommend like the highest wool content you could possibly get in terms of your socks. It's like a weird thing to have to recommend to people is socks, right? But it's really good. So like things like Naruto shoes or like Demon Slayer sandals, you know, where your toes and your feet are pretty much out, you know, in a sock with this, right? Wear socks or you know, wear thicker shoes and socks until you really get inside at a convention, and then, you know, you could put on your other things if you want. So I recently, like last year around this time, I was in a parade dressed as Wonder Woman, and it was November, it was in New York where I'm from, and it was freezing. I could barely walk because I did not plan ahead. I was not being smart, and I had on like regular tights with boots, and it was I could barely walk by the time the parade was over. So do not be like me in that situation. You know, really be like smart with your choices with that. My third tip, layer under your cosplay. So there's like those Uniqlo, like really thin shirts that you can often wear underneath your costumes, or sometimes like if I'm wearing Zatanna, I'll wear 2 pairs of tights underneath my costume, because I know I'm not gonna be wearing pants, but I'm gonna have like 2 tight pairs of tights on, right? So, something with that, you might have to size up a little bit more in order to, wear something underneath your cosplay, but again, it's always better to be kind of formal with that. That is an important thing. And my fourth tip is try to keep your stress levels down. So much easier said than done, right, guys? So much easier said than done. I also have anxiety, which I'm medicated for, but like since Raynaud's is triggered by stress, do as much as you can to sort of plan things ahead, and that way you don't have as much stress in those moments where it could really affect you. Be conscious of the weather, plan ahead with things like that, and if you find like a couple days before the con it's going to be really cold, hop on Amazon, try to prime something that you can wear that'll be a little bit warmer, and see what you could do. So that's it about Raynaud's. Really quick, I'm going to just talk about IBS. So for many people, IBS, you've heard it before, but it's to kind of explain it again, IBS is a disorder of like brain-gut interaction, characterized by a group of symptoms that commonly include abdominal pain and/or abdominal bloating and changes in consistency of bowel movements, right? Sometimes it's like a long-term thing, sometimes it's a short-term with IBS, right? But because, you're constantly either like, I can go to the bathroom or I can't go to the bathroom, right? It can really negatively affect your quality of life because you are constantly in limbo with this, right? It may result in like missed days at school or missed days at work or just periods of time, right? It can kind of be like accompanied by anxiety or depression, chronic fatigue because of the symptoms of IBS, right? It's sometimes difficult to diagnose as well. So you may think, oh, I'm just like have an upset stomach, but this actually might be IBS. So again, as with all of this stuff, talk to your doctor. Do not take our advice as medical advice here, right? But there's IBS-C, which is more constipation end of things, and then IBS-D, which is more like the diarrhea end of things, right? So, and you can also have both of them. So I'm keeping it really candid with you guys, right? But you know what? It's a great space for that. So my first tip with regarding IBS is locate the bathrooms when you get to a con, especially if you need a specific kind of bathroom, if you need a gender-neutral bathroom, a family bathroom, an accessible bathroom, right? Sometimes you cannot wait when an attack is going to come, and you just need to know where your local bathroom is at all times. Luckily, again, we're in a hotel here. If you're staying at the Gaylord, chances are you have a room upstairs where you can get there, but sometimes that's not good enough either. Sometimes it's like, oh, I have to go right now. And so it's good just to know where your bathrooms are, right? Second tip is make sure your costumes or cosplay, right, can accompany like fluctuations in size or weight. Oh, if my hat falls off, it's okay. So sometimes extreme bloating is inevitable with IBS, and having a backup plan is helpful. Not only is it more comfortable, but it can help just like emotionally release some stress for you to not think like, oh my gosh, I'm having an IBS moment, how am I gonna fit in my cosplay? So you might want to size up or just get something with some stretch in it, or just that has maybe like a wrap style that's a little bit more easy to wear. Easy on, easy off as well is really great too. If you have like closure that's really difficult for you that you can't get on your own, it might be good to have a friend with you to help you with that in those moments, right? My third tip is surround yourself with caring and fun people, like all the ladies on my panel today, right? IBS can really negatively affect your quality of life, like so many of the conditions, right, that we have, and cosplay drama and silliness on top of all that can it's like really not worth it, because stress does not help any of this. Plus sometimes we just need a good friend to go in the bathroom with us and unzip our cosplay, or just kind of be there for us, and to have like a non-judgmental friend in that situation, because it's like bowel stuff. It's like can be a little uncomfortable for some people, right? And it's just great to have kind people around you in those moments. My fourth tip and final tip, know about your food options at a con in advance, right? So luckily here at National Harbor, there's a couple of different restaurants local, but if it's difficult, like today, it's cold, you might not want to go out, or it might be difficult for you to get out of a hotel to go to one of the restaurants, right? You kind of want to know what's your even right at the gate word, right? So if you know about the food options in advance, like sometimes you'll also know what triggers your IBS, and sometimes you don't, right? Sometimes IBS can just be something that's triggered randomly out of the blue. But if you know that like chicken fingers and fries is good, then eat chicken fingers and fries. Don't, maybe deviate that. I'm like the chicken nugget queen. My friends know, like, I'm good with chicken fingers. Okay, I'm gonna have chicken fingers, right? But if I eat red meat sometimes, right, if I eat like a hamburger or something like that, might not be so good, right? So I'm gonna make sure that there's some kind of food option there, and if not, I'll bring something with me, that I can eat, even if it's just something small that I can keep in my bag to, or up in my hotel room or something that will satisfy my hunger and, keep me reasonably healthy. It's just less likely to trigger an attack. So, Raynaud's and IBS, those are my two conditions. Happy to chat more with you guys about that later, but thanks for letting me share.
Yay. Okay. So I have a few more conditions. I am diagnosed with ADHD, anxiety, and depression. Trifecta. Does not help because ADHD. I thought you had a question. I was like, oh, which doesn't help because ADHD has which doesn't help because ADHD and anxiety kind of go hand in hand. So to have both of them. So for ADHD, I am medicated with Adderall, but I do not take it every day. If I take it every day, I do not sleep as well. I don't know why. I just cannot get it out of my bloodstream, even if it's the extended release or just the normal one. So on my days off, when I don't have it and I have stuff to do, I take a lot of notes. My phone is my best friend, and the notes definitely help, or write them down, because I have a fish memory. I will not remember what I just told myself 5 minutes ago, and it sucks. So I'm grateful for the Adderall, because it does help me when I'm at work and at cons and stuff. But on weekends when I don't take it, notes are my best friend. Also, you have to find out what works for you. Mine is notes. Other people have other ways of coping. One of my friends, she says it 3 times and somehow it gets caught in her memory and she remembers. That does not work for me. With my ADHD, it does increase my anxiety. I pick a lot at my fingers and I fidget. So I did have a fidget ring upstairs. I forgot to put it on, so I've been playing with my other ring. I pick at my nails, I pick at stuff, and there's no way to prevent it, except having something else I can play with. So find what you like mine's hands. When I have anxiety, mine's with my hands. So I like to play with something, I'll be picking, I'll be moving stuff. Find, if you know what your, what's the word I'm looking for? Quirks, I guess, where your quirks are, where your stimuls are. Find something that you can work with it. The picking is bad, so I get rings, fidget, something I can play with. So that helps from me destroying my hands. Depression. I'm not on medication for anxiety or depression because it's not to the point where it's crippling. But for my depression, I find outlets that help me, such as anime, reading. So if my depression is really kicking in and I realize it, I'll put on something I love, an anime I love, something one season, Orion High School, Death Note, something simple that can just help me get back into feeling better, or to distract me from whatever's going on. And sometimes I have no clue why my depression's kicking in. It just kind of happens, and I realize it slowly. So I'm okay, I'm realizing it. Let's try to prevent it or try to stop it from getting to where I'm not going to get out of bed. And I'm not medicated from my choice. Addiction runs in my family, so I do not want to do that. So I'm trying to find coping mechanisms, and I'm working with a therapist and a psychiatrist to help me to find coping mechanisms that do work. I did just pick up crocheting, so I'm trying to find other things because again, my anxiety is with my hands. So you have to learn. I'm going to be 34, so I've dealt with this for a while, and it took me forever to find out what actually works. And sometimes it doesn't. In anime or my reading doesn't always help. So I'm okay, what do I enjoy? What are some of my outlets? Going outside in the nice weather, cuddling with my dogs, going to the gym. Doesn't my normal stuff doesn't always work. So it's good to sit down, think about it. What do I enjoy? What brings me pure happiness? My pets. So if my depression's kicking in, I'll grab them, I'll smother them. It's okay, some little serotonin, I'm happy. but you have to like learn what works, and again, not everything works. So like I have like 5 different things that if one's not working, we're moving on to the next. So yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, and what works for me might not work for you, and what works for me now might not work for later on. So you have to like grow as you learn or progress. I don't know. Yeah. Your turn.
Hello. Okay, so I have a very rare genetic condition called Hermansky-Pudlak syndrome, and what it causes me to be legally blind, and I also have a platelet condition, so I bruise like a bee. So what do they have to do with each other? So with being legally blind means I can't drive, and I actually am fitted with specialized contacts so that for the nystagmus, which causes my eyes to go back and forth, they actually are like a gelatinous type of contact that adheres to the eye, and it does help a lot. Now, before I was able to be fitted with these, I would go to conventions with no glasses on because I wanted to look authentic and cute, and then I would wear my color contacts. It would cause me to spend the entire day just, stumbling around. And it was, it wasn't until I had the contacts that I realized that there were certain things that I was sacrificing in order for a look to work. And so I would say if you have to wear glasses with your cosplay, go right ahead. It doesn't make your cosplay any less authentic. It's so great to be comfortable. It's so wonderful to be able to see everyone's faces and recognize people and not bump into everything. So it really made a big difference when I realized that, not everyone, the contacts that I have are very expensive. My insurance doesn't really cover them. So I wear them sparingly for conventions, but, I happen to, have a job that helps me to pay for them. Not everyone has that, and so wear your glasses, take them off for pictures, that's fine too, but, I think many cosplays look really cute with glasses, and I think it's fantastic, but having an eye condition is very difficult for conventions. Before I got here, I couldn't read the signs, and I went to the registration desk where the prop, right down the hallway where the prop check-in was, and there was this woman, and I said, her name's Katie, and I said, hi, I kind of need help, and I can't find Wilson Gate. And I said, I'm really sorry, I'm legally blind. It's gonna be a little difficult for me. She said, come with me, I'm gonna take you. Come to find out, she wasn't even working. It was her break. And she took me, and as we're walking and we're talking, she said, my mother is visually impaired and hearing deficient. And she said, I get it, like I understand. And I said, oh my God, I manifested you, like I needed you. You were here for me. And so it's okay to ask people for help. I'm very prideful. I have a hard time asking people for help. But when it comes to having a physical handicap that not many people recognize, when people are in wheelchairs, people tend to be a lot more sympathetic and understanding. And when they don't see, it's almost like they need to see you with a disability so that they can show, not everyone, I'm just saying that's what I've come to when I tell people I'm visually impaired, I need help. There have been times where I've had people go, really? You? Really? But you were able to put your eyelash and mascara on. I'm like, yeah, shakily, but sure. So it does encourage to ask for help, and you should ask for help when you need to, especially with something like that. I'm also light sensitive, so when you're coming to conventions, bring your sunglasses if you're light sensitive. Don't be afraid to ask for help from people who work here. I'm not talking about random strangers. I'm saying, go to people who work here. That's what they're here for. They're here to help us find out where the bathrooms are ahead of time so that you get to them my legs are covered in bruises. And I wasn't going to put on this outfit. I was gonna miss out on a cosplay I've been wanting to do for a long time. And I thought, wait a minute, there are options. So, I just got these dance leggings that cover the bruises, there's makeup. It's okay to feel self-conscious about your body. It's not okay to stop doing the things you love to do because you think people are going to stare at you and think, look at that, it's hideous. Love your body, love everything about it, but if you want to do something about, anything like bruising, anything we talked about skin picking, I actually have that as well. It's an offshoot of pica, which is the dirt eating disorder, which is it's actually a branch of it, and my hands are hideous. And I always laugh at people because I'm always like, look at these hideous hands, and I make a joke out of it. But I have, I eat my skin and I pick at my nails, and it's something where because of stress and because of disorders, we have things that affect our bodies and the way we look, and because our society is so into social media, everything is perfect. But there's something really freeing about just saying, you know what, I'm not perfect, I'm beautifully imperfect, I have these, disabilities, but being disabled does not mean you're unable, okay? So being visually impaired, I'm actually, I'm an artist, I'm a painter, and I've been in galleries. Doesn't stop you. I'm a teacher for 27 years. It can't stop you. So anything that you have, whether it's, any of the disabilities we have, it may be a disability on some level, but it's not it doesn't mean you're unable. You can do anything. There's so much you can do. Now, can I be a master surgeon? You probably don't want me looking for those not gonna find it. However, can I hold your hand afterwards and tell you, you didn't need that appendix? Yeah. I can do that. So life is about negotiations. And it's okay if you have Tourette's and you have a tic, if you have IBS, if you have, if you're a paraplegic, whatever it is, a visual disability, if you have any learning disability, mental, it doesn't matter. What matters is how you negotiate through life and how you make life work for you instead of the other way around. And that's really, you can have everything you want. It depends on the support you choose to have and the people you surround yourself with, and really your inability to quit, right? It's sisu, the inability and the refusal to quit, to instead persevere. That's really what it's all about.
Well, my username is Zipper Club Cosplay because I have a zipper scarred on my chest. So people who have open heart surgery are known as people in the Zipper Club. So I remember it was a hot summer day and I was working in a summer camp. And this little girl saw my scar and I used to do and she said I had the same scar. And at that moment I was still really weird about showing it. People always ask or they point or they're like, what happened? But after that moment I was like, I need to stop hiding it because I remember being a little kid and being feeling like a freak. I had these crazy scars all over me from surgery and I didn't really get it. But from that moment I was like, okay, I need to start, embracing it more. But it was a really long process. And then I also have really bad migraines. So when I tried to go to the rave last night, I lasted 3 seconds. It was the lights and the music, I literally could not. When I'm walking through Artist Alley, I have to leave soon because there's candles and there's perfumes and there's crazy lights. And while I love it and I want all those people to get their money, I can last 3 seconds inside. Or when I'm in a hotel room, I have to explain to people, one, I can let you put one spray of perfume on. If you put more than one, I will smell it all day long. Oh my god, I broke the microphone. But yeah, so it's things like that, and learning how, what's going to trigger you with migraines. That was really hard for me, or a lot of people don't believe it. So I used to work with this one girl, and she loved to wear heavy perfume. So one day she came in, and she was wearing her heavy perfume, which is not migraines that sometimes last up to 3 days. So just from this one person deciding let's wear so much perfume, I'm the one who has to deal with it. So I realized that it's like putting myself first and being like, hey, you can put on perfume around me. Or it's like, it sucks because before I had migraines, I used to love wearing perfume. Vanilla, my favorite flavor. So I think for me, the hardest part was like getting used to what was going on. For a while, I tried to ignore it. I was like, no, I'm perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong. Like, I'm healthy. And then I was like, dude, you need to take a hold of this. Because the migraines were getting bad, and then I also have fibromyalgia. So I'm in pain almost all the time. So it's like there's some days, if I'm having like a bad few days, I will be so weak. Like even if I'm like perfectly fine, I'll get to work and I'm like, wow, I'm exhausted, or my legs hurt, or so it's like when you have something that is pretty much like they don't really know what you have, they put it as fibromyalgia. That's pretty much what it is. It's like, oh, you have a bunch of really weird conditions and your blood work looks kind of cool, so we're just gonna say you have fibromyalgia, and like you just have to deal with it. So I think that was really hard for me, is like learning how to deal with something that has no cure. It's kind of just like, this is what it is, even though there is nothing. And I think the hardest part for me was going to the doctors for years and being like, I'm in pain, and they're like, all right, sure. And then you have to keep going and going and going. The one thing I started to do that helped me the most was learning to do my own education on my own. I started Googling things, I started doing my own research, and I actually was able to help one of my close friends get diagnosed with migraines because I did a project on it for school. So I was able to send her the PowerPoint, and I was like, hey, like, you have these symptoms, like, you need to get this shit out. And she was able to get diagnosed with migraines. So I think one thing that's really important is that you talk to your friends, you teach people about what you have going on. Instead of being like, oh, I'm gonna keep this all to myself, it's teaching people so other people relate. But maybe they could be like, wow, I have that too. The same thing happened with my sister. Like one of her, she used to work at like a retail store, and one of her clients came in and were like, whoa, like I think you have this condition, and then she was able to get diagnosed with it. So I think that's one thing I've learned is like learning to educate other people, but also be understanding. Like I work at Starbucks, and if someone comes in with headphones, everyone just assumes that they're rude or they don't want to talk to people. But I'm like, what if they're like overwhelmed or like the music is too loud? So I think if you put yourself out of your shoes for one moment, you realize like, instead of being judgmental, how could, like, what is going on with this person? Instead of being like, let me automatically judge them. And I always tell people that at work. Or even like, I still wear a mask, and they're like, you know you don't have to wear one. And I'm like, yeah, I do, because all of you guys come in here sick. And they don't understand, something that could be a cold to them for 2 or 3 days could take my immune system 3 weeks to fight. So I think a lot of people, even now, like, they're like, oh, what are you wearing a mask? And I'm like, oh, I'm wearing it. And one our customer would be like, are you sick? I'm like, no, I'm not sick. Do you think I'd be working if I was sick? And I think one thing that really helped me was finding a job that gives you sick time. And I think that was really, and being like, able to call out. Every time I call out, I feel guilty. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so horrible I called out. But I was like, you did not feel good. Like one day I tried to go to work, and I was feeling so bad, and I was lightheaded, and I literally got dressed, got to my front door, and I was like, I can't do this. And I think that's when you have to realize, like, putting your body first means sometimes calling out of work, sometimes taking a nap instead of getting into cosplay, and learning to, like, listen to your body was one thing, especially as I got older, since I'll be turning 30 this year. As I got older, I realized I needed to listen to my body more. Like, I can't keep being like, ignore the call, you know? You have to listen to the call of the body. And while this month is February, which is Black History Month, and it's also an important month to me because it's Heart Disease Awareness Month. So this is a very important month to me because I was born with tetralogy of Fallot. So while it was fixed as a kid, I still have to get MRIs done all the time, catheters, all of that. So what was such a rare, and we didn't know what was going on 30 years ago, now with people like me who've given so much research and so much time, we've been able to make it so it's no longer so rare. And I think that's what's so great. It's like, it's no longer you go in and it's like, whoa, you're excited, you have this condition, which is so great. I hate when you go to the doctor and they're like, wow, you're my special patient. And it's like, great, I don't want to be, like, I just want to be healthy, I don't want to be special. But you know, stuff like that is like with how much research and how much things they've done, or like our friend Elijah who got a heart replacement, and you know, it's knowing things like that. And a few of us here, we all do charity in New York City with Cape for a Cause, that's the organization we help out with, and we met a kid at New York Comic Con. What was that, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
2 years ago now, and he was waiting for his heart transplant, and he finally got it in the last few months, and he's doing so much better. But knowing that, you know, you can make a difference, or when we visited a hospital where all the kids were nonverbal, and we said, you know, it was just, you can do so much for other people, and it's like, while you might have your own conditions, you can still do so much, and it's like being around people who understand. Like, there's been times that I'm like, oh wow, the last second, I can't do something. Unfortunately, I got 3 cosplay groups in the last week that were all for Katsucon, because I could not do it, I was too stressed, I couldn't have it done, and I agreed to it when I was feeling better. And I think that's the problem too, is like, when you agree to things that are too far out, you have to think, will I be okay then, or am I hopeful? And I realized that, you know, it's okay to cancel. Everyone was really cool and they were like, dude, I totally get it. But I think it's also important to keep around people who are gonna understand. If you keep people who understand, and like even today, my friend wanted to go up the stairs. I was like, dude, we go up the stairs, I'm gonna be out of breath for 10 minutes. Like, if you wanna see me huffing and puffing, that's fine, but I'm letting you know, like, I'll be out of breath forever. So it's like things like that. It's like also learning to state your boundaries and let people know, like, hey, I can't do this. So I think it's knowing what you can and can't do is really important. And I think about when I first started cosplaying, maybe like 10 years ago, I didn't know anyone who had conditions. I mean, like, even 10 years ago, you put an Amazon, you put an internet, like, if you want to see my first cosplay, it's horrible. It was like, yeah, it was like, I had a blue, half my hair was blue, I had a winter coat, a little ribbon, it was horrible. But it was the time of my life 10 years ago. But I think about when I started, I didn't know anyone. Like, even with Eileen here, I didn't know Eileen was legally blind until like 2 years ago. I was like, I would have never known. So it's like learning about people and the people around you. Or like when after we hosted the panel at Anime NYC, a lot of people told me like, wow, thanks so much, or they talked to me about their condition. So that made me feel like, okay, this is really important. Because like, there needs to be more space for people to talk about this because so many people are affected. And it's no one's business to know what conditions you have. But it doesn't make it any less real just because they can't always see them. But I think also it's important just to keep good friends around. Good company, people who understand if you can't make something, if you don't feel good. There's been so many times I canceled like the day before, like, oh, I can't make it today. I was not up to it. So that's one piece of advice I give you, whether it's cosplay or out of cosplay.
Any last comments on Q&A? What? Oh, I totally forgot. Part of my ADHD. If I don't say something right away, no. And we have pen and paper right here. But like, I was about to say something, I was like, gone.
Alright, well there's a little microphone right over there, so if you want to ask any questions, make any comments, say anything, you're more than welcome to.
And if it's hard for you to get to the microphone, let me know. I will bring it to you, or I will take your question and bring it over to the microphone here, whatever you want.
I was about to say, and if you don't want to get up, but you're loud, more than welcome to sit and talk.
Yes. Just like raise your hand so that we know. But okay, we
Oh,
have.
hold on. I was gonna do Ace because he had his hand up first.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I came in a little late, so if you said anything before, don't comment. But I was wondering if you had any tips for like chronic pain during like long suspension days or stuff like that.
Sure. It depends on, it really depends on your medical condition. So, since I have a platelet disorder, I can't take anticoagulants, so I wouldn't recommend Advil for someone like me, right? So, but I do bring Advil for other congoers who need Advil. Tylenol, I would also say shoes. If you have chronic pain of your legs and feet, ahead of time, get insoles, spend the money. They're not that expensive. Go to CVS, go to Rite Aid, get those insoles and those cushions, and because most of the pain that we hear from people is from their legs and their feet. Also, take a break. You don't have to, there are break rooms, there are seats, there's, places to sit. There are heat pads that you can just snap and they turn hot. So if you have muscle aches or anything like that, you can do that, but also plan your day. If you know that you have a chronic condition in which you have pain that begins after a certain time, it's okay to be at a con for only 3 hours. It's okay to be at a con for 2 hours, or to go somewhere, take a break, and then come back. It's okay. So it's really about planning, knowing your medical condition, being comfortable, and knowing your body, and honoring your body.
I will say, I don't suffer from chronic pain, but when I do have pain, like before I cosplay, I always take Tylenol as a
prophylaxis.
Yeah, thank you. I get tongue tied. And like for here, the hot tub is your best friend, especially for your feet. Like afterwards, like my second Katsu, we took ice and put it in our bathtub because all of our feet were in so much pain, and none of us knew that there was a hot tub here. So we just took an ice bath for our feet.
I didn't know there was a hot tub here.
I would say, because I'm the mom in the group, I would say do not go into a hot tub if you've been drinking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
It's one of my worst hangovers ever.
Yep.
Instant regret.
I also suggest you getting one of those muscle guns. Those help so much. Like if I'm in a corset all day or in heels, my lower back is killing me. So those muscle guns, or just having a friend who can like help, definitely works. Me, before I cosplay, like Erica can vouch for this. Last year we were doing yoga and stretching before we did anything. Like we were just decompressing, getting ready for the day, doing yoga, just stretching out, get your body ready. Like if we're gonna be walking all day, I'm getting my body ready. If I'm gonna be in heels, I'm getting my feet ready. Thick socks, something, just for cushion. This year I have just my sneakers, so I'm super comfy. But even then I was stretching my feet, stretching my legs, stretching my back, like doing all these crazy poses in the bed, on the floor. My roommates are like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm stretching. Can you crack my back?" Like I want to be like decompressed and limber before we go out on the floor.
I'm gonna take one question from here, and then I see you guys with your hands raised, so I'm gonna try to go back and forth. Okay,
they
great.
they have suggestions for you.
Okay.
Ace,
Our friend in the hat.
Ace. They have suggestions.
Oh, yeah, if you know you have bad ankles or bad knees, IBS, so my joints are wiggly, great body and ankle brace, body and knee brace. I have really bad ankles. I have an ankle brace on me during convention time at all times in case my ankle gets bad.
I wanted to say also, because I have lupus, I get a lot of inflammation in my joints, so I get really sore feet and legs. If you're doing the convention multiple days in a row and you get back to your house or your hotel room and you're really sore and you're like, oh, I'm gonna be really sore tomorrow, then take Advil right before you go to sleep, and then you'll feel better in the morning.
Awesome, thank you.
I have to bring up, you have to take food when you're taking Advil.
Yeah.
I'm a
You
pharmacist.
should also just eat regardless and hydrate.
Yeah, please eat.
We're not medical professionals, so do consult your doctor, medical professional, or whomever you deal with before you take any of these suggestions. Because like I said, I can't take Advil; it would not work well for me. But these are good suggestions. Just always know your body.
Yeah, exactly. Like what works for us might not work for you guys. You have to do baby steps.
Right. Okay. At the microphone.
Okay, so basically, like when you like autism or ADHD, okay, so like basically, I have autism and ADHD, and I'm not diagnosed, but suspect OCD and anxiety. How do you make your con experience more enjoyable? And follow-up question to that is basically coming with autism and ADHD, my sleep schedule's out of whack. I'm going to sleep at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and waking up at 3 or 4. And how do you fix that? Sorry about it.
So, just to talk about the sleep a little bit, because I feel like that will help you enjoy your con more if you get better sleep. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, are you texting?
You want to say it first? Yeah.
I would say first and foremost, before anything, because of your sleep pattern and everything else, and Rebecca and I are educators, we're teachers. I would say that you absolutely 100% need to seek a medical professional to be diagnosed so that you receive the best medical advice ever, because we work with autistic students, we work with so many people with autism, and because of our community is so open, everyone here is valuable, right? But in order to really enjoy your time and to really enjoy and be comfortable, it would be good to ask a medical professional how to best work with your sleep schedule, because sleep is so imperative, especially if you have something like a 3-day convention. You need your sleep, but also to understand that if you feel you have autism, and you feel that it is affecting your thought experience and your life in general.
Honestly, it does affect not only my kids, but does the relationship.
Yeah, so I would suggest that you consult and be diagnosed, because the greatest thing about being diagnosed is that it opens up a network of support systems that are there to help you and support you and guide you in your best possible life. I mean, it's a gift.
Also, by seeing a doctor, they can also help you, because they have all these patients who have, like, oh, I have the same thing, oh, I have a patient that did this, let's try to put you on this, or let's try that. They'll be able to help you more than anyone else, especially like the internet or strangers, because they have all this experience with people with similar conditions. They can help, and they'll be like, okay, let's try this. If that doesn't work, we have 10 other steps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's possibly the best route to take with that, definitely.
But I think it's also important to remember that you need to advocate for yourself. If you don't think your doctor is taking your concerns seriously, you need to look for a new one. It's not always easy. Like, I have really bad insurance, and there's they only take my insurance on Fridays. Like, it's really weird. But I've noticed that you really need to advocate for yourself, and if your doctor does not take you seriously, then you need to find a new one.
Yes.
Before I was diagnosed with migraines, I cried in the doctor's office. And I think it's
Faye
really
has something to say, and then
As far as your sleep, I'll show you an app after the panel, and that might help you.
There's no Wi-Fi here. Can I?
we'll show you the app, because I also have a sleeping app.
I'm autistic. I've been diagnosed. And I will just start off by saying that, autism is like full spectrum.
Yes.
I know that my experiences are still very different than other people's. But just a few things I wanted to talk to specifically regarding autism and sleep, because it's something I really had to work out over the course of my life, and something I keep in mind with infections. Number one, it can be difficult. It can feel a bit like FOMO, but I've just come to realize that staying in a hotel like this is really just not feasible. I have a lot of sensory issues, and especially if there's just sounds around me as I'm trying to fall asleep and stay asleep, it's really, really tough. Even with earplugs, it still doesn't cut it. So, when it comes to cons, I live in the area, unfortunately, so I try to go to a lot of local conventions, but I've just made a rule for myself that, I go back home at night, I try to fall asleep in a familiar environment where I kind of have my routine. That's the other thing too, I think is really key, is for life in general, if you're sleeping and you're autistic, you probably need some kind of routine to help you just relax, and you start that routine even before you really feel sleepy, I would say. Just have a sequence that you have to kind of transition your brain from I'm awake, I'm stressed, I'm doing things, to I'm relaxed and ready to sleep. Kind of consistent combination, even if you're doing something like you mentioned.
Yeah, my little brother is autistic. He has Asperger's. He's high functioning, but he can't he's codependent on his family. He stims a lot, so we found things to help him, because otherwise he'll be stimming all night. So we have to no TV, no nothing. This is your downtime. You're going to relax, and then you're going to bed. If you can't go to sleep, just lay in bed. And he'll have his phone or PlayStation while the TV's going, listening to 5 different things. I'm like, Georgie, can I watch TV? No, I'm watching this. you're have a video game here and playing on your phone. What do you mean? He'll stim and he'll do it like 5 different ways. But yeah, we have to like, no electronics, no nothing. You have to decompress. You have to let your body like rest. Physically testing that stuff. There's no sample like, speaking recording, and it's just a mess.
You all section as well?
Yes.
I actually did that.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You have a question?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
But yeah, I actually wanted to ask, sorry, I am so bad with names. I know you kind of on the right side talked about like migraines and smells. I have a friend with a very kind of similar condition and she wants to get more into cosplay, but I'm just curious how you handle situations at cons where, you know, there's just big groups of people, even the convention center itself, if they're using certain cleaning supplies, those might have fragrances or smells that are triggering. So like, how do you just handle those kinds of things that you can't always plan for, but may sort of encounter in a bigger space like this?
Some people will anger up, which can help them, but for migraines, it depends on really what triggers them. So every person is triggered so many different things. Like for me, to be light is usually perfume, but I think it's, as soon as you smell it and you know right away, it's like, okay, time to walk out of it, or if I see a candle aisle over there, I go the opposite way. Or lights, they make amber glasses, so if you get a prescription, you can get special glasses that are like amber tinted, or if you're using your phone, go to like night mode instead of dark mode, so that really helps. But I just think it's like knowing your triggers, and as soon as you smell it, it's literally run the other way.
Also, if you want to get more into cosplay, but you don't feel like a con is necessarily the right environment, while social media can often be so difficult, you know, for so many of us, right? But it's also a space to exhibit your cosplays, exhibit your art, and to participate, you know, in discussions, and to talk to people, and to feel like you're posting your personal, like, your costumes and your art, to feel like that sense of like, hey, I'm getting this out there. So if you're not maybe always well enough to get out to a con for all 3 days, or you don't feel like you can always do that on some days, like post a picture of your cosplay, or post a work in progress, or go on, you know, TikTok and kind of feel like part of the community in that way too.
I will also say, if you don't go to cosplay cons much, or you like want to learn, get into it, start with a small con.
Little cons.
Nothing like this.
Yeah, nothing
Because
like
this,
that.
I feel so bad when people are like, this is my first con. I'm like, well, how are you not overwhelmed?
Yeah.
Like, my first con was New York Comic Con, like 10 years ago, before it was like so crowded. The last time I went to New York Comic Con, I had a panic attack.
Yeah.
I have not been there since, because I know it's going to happen again. So I like this con, if I get overwhelmed, I have a room here. I go up there. I'm like, fine. If I can't escape, I don't do it. I have a lot of smaller cons that near me. I love them because I can just walk around, I'm comfortable. If I don't like it, I can leave easily. Going on a stage, you can't just like go, okay, I'm gonna go home.
Right.
So having like a safe place with your hotel room is great. And make that your like spot.
Thank you so much.
You had something?
Yes.
So I have a cocktail of chronic conditions
$100 to try to ship it back, to try to get this, right? At that point, that's really hard, and I wish that I had a better solution to that, but I'm still trying to figure that out myself. But I really need to subscription Amazon, but their return policy is really good. No, I'm cool. I know, you gotta do what you gotta do. But I buy pretty much everything I have on it is really from Amazon today.
I would say probably just buy a cosplay with a really good return. See if you can do the insides for it, or find out what the fabric is, and just buy that.
Don't get too good. Don't get too good. There's no ethical consumption of happening.
Okay, I don't feel guilt at all.
Also, if like you have like a costume that's like jacket, pants, and everything, maybe get like a bodysuit that works for you.
Yeah,
So you don't have to sew underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's good. Yeah, something that you like, you know, that you have on your skin. Sorry guys.
That was a bodysuit's a great idea.
Yeah, for underneath.
Yeah, no, I have a ton of issues, but the big one that affects me at cons, on the side that one. I only recently got a con, but that's how I realized you need to have a support system. You need to have some friends or someone to depend on. I've gotten so low I didn't realize it. And I've had friends try to point out, like, you're acting funny, check your sugars, why you have like this is when you have to put my fingers. And always realize I'm like at like in the 40s. And so they, okay, let's sit down, I have a backpack with me, I always have snacks. Let's make sure you have something with you. But that's where you really need to have some friends or someone that you don't point out when you're not.
You bring up a really good point is that you don't go to cons alone if you know you have a condition. That is something that people need to know. If you have a condition that you need support, do not go to a con.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have a condition, pack snacks, hydrate.
Yes.
Because even when I'm at cons, like I go to one with my boyfriend, I'll be acting a little weird and I don't realize it. He'll stop me like have a snack, have some water, your blood sugar may be low, something.
Yes.
But you plan for that because I don't eat at cons, which is really bad. The dinner is my real meal.
Or just, I didn't eat all day today at one point, and someone pointed out you're acting funny when you eat. No, it's one of the things
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And for the record, guys, like we're happy to talk to you after. We just want to make sure that we feel the space.
Because we think someone coming in after,
Go right ahead.
So I have a question. It might be a little controversial, so you guys don't have to answer it. But I also suffer from anxiety, ADHD, depression, but I also have chronic pain. So like it affects my ability to stand for long periods of time, walk long distances, stuff like that. I utilize medication for ADHD, anxiety, everything else, and I also use medication for my pain. Because I was wondering, one other thing that I do use is medical cannabis. So I was wondering if you guys had any thoughts on the use of medical cannabis, or if you guys.
Go for it. Like my anxiety at night, I can't sleep sometimes, and I will smoke, and it will knock me out. It's like one of the only things that can turn off my brain, and it does help with sleep and everything. So if it works for you, go for it. Don't let anyone judge you for something that works for you. As long as it's legal and everything.
I think also too is having a doctor that you feel comfortable telling that you want this or you need this, and if you need it and you know you have medical, like I've talked to my cardiologist. He knows, like it's okay for you to have edibles. Like so I think that's one thing is like having a good relationship with your doctor can help you out so much. But I also say like always talk to your doctor and see what's gonna be best for you because that's what's most important. It's like you know from a medical professional.
Also know what's legal in your state and the state you're going to.
And
So
also
be careful with that.
And also know that please do not take anything without a doctor discussing because I actually cannot take medical cannabis. It actually has a very poisonous effect on me. And I've had so many people at this convention say, you know, because I have a little bit of I do have anxiety. Oh, here, take them. And you can't give them out like they're candy. But people do a lot of people do tend to treat them like something you can just share. So if you know your condition, if you understand that you need it for a certain reason, remember that you still have to consult a doctor. You still have to make sure that you're okay taking it.
As a convicted doctor, they said, okay, very small milligrams. And then work your way up to figure out which will work. Because some people have had like an edible that's like 5 milligrams, throwing up. So that you don't know what your body can handle, so be careful. And do talk to a doctor and see what like is legal in your state.
And do it under supervision of like
Someone you
a
trust.
Yeah, a trusted person. Just like you're like, hey, I want to do this. Like I don't feel comfortable doing it by myself. Okay,
Don't
great.
do anything new
like,
by yourself.
Yeah, because God forbid something bad happens. Like you don't want to be alone in your house doing this, and then you're on the floor like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, what do I do now?
You have like a bad trip.
Yeah, but I'm so glad that it's helpful to you.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that. We have, I think we have two more. Okay.
I have to speak on this. I have to speak. So, all right. So I'm gonna make this quick. So I'm autistic too, Asperger's type as well, and I'm also a pharmacist. So I'm in the healthcare field. And before I talk about what happened with me, everyone is different, and the dose makes the poison. You speak to the doctors who know you the best. All right, so I'm telling you this. You can ask me everything and all that stuff, but they're all for educational purposes. You have to speak with your healthcare team. All right. So, so earlier today, I was on the line for one of the voice actors, and so there was no line. So the person was taking a break. So I went to another voice actor. That took long because there was no Wi-Fi and there was transaction issues. I went back to the line. I see a line. I had a staff member come in and say, "What are you doing here? What's this? You know, there's another line." And I almost got a panic attack. I almost got a meltdown right in front of the person. And what I did was I actually had a lanyard that had autism on it. That please understand what I go through, because, when something that is contrary to that's what's happening, I'm gonna get a meltdown. And I am happy to say it did not happen. It almost happened, but I was able to fight back. And so I said, you can't do that. You can't just say one thing and then you tell me another thing, and there's another line. That's not how it works. So I ended up going to the front. Afterwards, I went back to the person, and I was escorted to the, there's a kiosk or a desk where there's for ADA. I was not aware of it. It was not on my guidebook, actually. I was going through the booklets, and on their guidebook, on the staff's, it was there. It was at right near registration. But since I got it through the mail, it just threw me off a little bit. So that's what I want to share. The lesson here is advocate for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, we only have like
Yes.
a minute.
Yes. Sorry. Thank you.
Can these questions be quick, because we have like a minute left.
Okay, I'll be speedy.
Okay. Hi.
Okay. So I have ADHD and anxiety, but I also have PTSD, which I think affects me probably the most. Shout out to Ari, by the way. We've been mutuals for like 4 years, and every single time I freak out, Ari's like, "Are you okay, darling?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, I melt." But I guess my question is like I have a hard time with like motivation, like getting myself up to like get into cosplay and everything. I think like my ADHD and my PTSD like affects that. So like, do you have any advice?
Get
about,
friends.
like,
I have like friends who like this morning I didn't want to get ready. They were like, "Get up, we gotta go. We spent money on this. Get up." But again, if you don't feel like it, don't force yourself. Like if I was in a depression state, it's like I can't force myself to get out. Then there is no like hope. Like I can try to force it, but I'm gonna be miserable, and I've done that. Where I didn't want to do something, I was miserable, and you could see it on my face. So for that, I would just say, how do you have a support system and know like what you can push yourself through? Because sometimes like I don't want to do this, push myself, and I'm like I had a great damn time. So
And if you don't have anyone around, like I'll tell you this, one thing that you can do is play your favorite song list. Put on the music really loud, just words of affirmation, really like manifest the idea, say I am gonna be okay, I am gonna be okay. And yeah, that was me today. Today I was alone in my hotel room and I did not want to get dressed. I didn't feel good about how I looked. I was just having a hard morning. I didn't feel well, and I just played my favorite song list, and I just started repeating to myself, because what we say goes out into, I believe it goes out into the universe, and then it comes back to us and reverberates. So many times You have to be your own hero.
Another suggestion is watch like a clip of the anime with the character you're doing and be like, why am I doing this? Why, like, I love some characters and I'm like, this is a badass character. I want to do this. Like, I'll watch a clip to like get me motivated. I'm like, let's go. So we have one last question.
Thank you. So I've chronic pain and working on cosplay is really, really hard. Feel my dad walking around the bed is really hard. Interacting really hard. Everything about it is so painful that I find myself like almost finding more suffering from the entire experience.
You're not enjoying it.
So how do you yourself?
I think for chronic pain, honestly, when you have a good day. Like, it sounds like it's not good advice, but it's like, there's some days that like the chronic pain is unbearable, and I don't push myself. Or I'll be like, I'll go out for a few minutes and come back, or I'll wear something cozy. But I know that, like, say I feel good on Friday, I'm doing all my shopping. I'm getting everything I want done. So I think it's knowing when you have a feel good day and really taking advantage of that.
I think too, like something for me, if I'm having like a day where my Raynaud's is really affecting me, I'm in pain from that or something, I really take my time, and I kind of just say like, you know what, I can't rush for anything. I think the rushing kind of makes us stressed too, which really doesn't help with any physical condition, right? Stress.
Yes.
So I take my time, eat some breakfast, maybe I'll take a rest, take my time. I think sometimes it's hard to feel like, why am I even bothering with this? Why do I even bother trying to do something? But we are all here for a reason, right? Where we all feel passionately about going to cons, about cosplaying, right? And even if you go down for an hour, half an hour, by the time all is said and done, you still did it. So like, claps for that, right? Like, you still did it, and finding even just the accomplishment of like, hey, I did my makeup. Sometimes that's enough. Or hey, I put this wig on. That's enough for me, right? Or finding a casual version of a cosplay is sometimes really good too.
I'm all about the casual
Yeah.
ones and the comfy ones.
Because by the time I get to a certain point in the night, if I'm not feeling up to like wearing the heels anymore, I'm not wearing the wig or something like that, I always have like a backup that I can do with my hair, or with like a wig that's super comfortable, and like flat shoes or comfortable shoes or something, where I'm like, I feel comfortable, I feel good, it was minimal effort, and I still feel like I'm doing something, right? So that maybe isn't always the most helpful, but that is what works best for me.
I would also say take breaks, listen to your body. Like, if my anxiety is getting too much, and like, I don't realize it sometimes, but my best friend will, she's like, she'll tell me, hey, do you want to go to the room with me? I want to lay down. And then I'll lay down with her, and she's like, then later she's like, I did that on purpose for you. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't listen to, like, I don't realize some things, because I'm so used to it that I can just work through it. But someone else who I don't see often will pick up on it immediately, and then they're like, let's just go lay down, let's go get you food, let's go do this, and they'll use themselves as an excuse, because I don't know why, but I'm not like, oh, I want to go lay down. I'm gonna go lay down. I'm like at a con, so I'm like, let's keep going. It's my ADHD, like I gotta keep moving, like I'm here, let's keep going. My friends, they'll be like, oh, can you come lay down with me? Oh yeah, sure, honey, because they're my friends, so I'm gonna support them. In reality, they're supporting me.
And also, like, a very important thing, and this is for everyone with a condition or a disability, if it's impacting the things that you love and it's starting to become more difficult, that's your cue to go back to your medical professional, to go back to your therapist, to go back to the person who's helping you, and to ask them to do something more for you. And that's the part that Erica talks about, advocating.
You deserve that.
Yes.
You are all worthy of everything good that life has to offer. You're worthy of good days, and you're worthy of like having fun and great experiences.
Unfortunately, we are out of time, and they're kicking us out. We will meet you
We'll
outside.
meet you
We'll go outside and talk to you guys, okay?
Talk to you.
Yay! Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
We're gonna go outside and talk.